for the valedictory session of this Enlightenment and Enlightening Conference, Decolonizing Narrative and Interpretation. To begin this auspicious occasion, we commence with the lighting of the lamp, a symbol of knowledge, wisdom, and new beginnings. I invite our esteemed dignitaries and distinguished guests to kindly come forward and join in this ceremonial tradition. Professor P.P. Mathur, Professor Sanjit Mishra, Dr. Arun Sen and Dr. Aditi Kalga.
सर इधर देखना सर
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Please be seated and we continue with the session. As we move forward in our valedictory session, we now present the Kulki, a tribute to our institution's rich heritage and wealth. This anthem embodies our collective spirit, dedication, and commitment to knowledge and progress. I request everyone to kindly stand as we honor our institution with the Kulki. everyone. As we continue with this valedictory session, it is time for Aditi Satkar. Our heartfelt gratitude and respect for our esteemed guest. I invite Professor Deepa S. P. Mathur to felicitate Professor Sanjit Mishra as a token of our appreciation for their presence and contribution. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Your presence has truly enriched this conference. With this warm welcome, we now proceed to the next segment of our session. To officially commence the session, I now invite Professor Deepa S. P. Mathur, convener and head of the English department, to deliver the welcome address.
Very good afternoon to all. A very good afternoon to all. And I officially welcome Professor Sanjit Mishra to this university. He is there since yesterday. And I proceed with my valedictory speech. Very pleasant to see you all here again. As on the first day, respected dignitaries, Dr. Vaidyanathan, I want you to look here, distinguished speakers, esteemed participants, and dear colleagues. As we come to the close of this remarkable conference on decolonizing narratives and interpretations, literary and cultural studies in India, it is with immense gratitude and a deep sense of fulfillment that I stand before you to deliver the valedictory address. Over the course of our discussions, we have traversed a rich intellectual terrain. Together, we have explored the complexities of decolonization in literary and cultural studies, delved into marginalized voices, and reimagined frameworks that truly resonate with the pluralistic realities of India. First and foremost, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to all the distinguished speakers whose profound insights and thought-provoking presentations have enriched this conference. Your expertise and perspectives have illuminated the paths we must take to dismantle hegemonic narratives and reclaim our diverse cultural heritage. To our panelists and participants, I extend my deepest appreciation for your active engagement. Your questions, your debates, and shared experiences have brought a dynamic energy to this platform, making it a space for collaborative learning and growth. I would also like to take a moment to recognize the incredible efforts of the organizing team. Behind the scenes, countless hours were spent ensuring the seamless execution of this conference. Really, your dedication and hard work have been pivotal in making this event a success. Throughout this conference, we have repeatedly emphasized that decolonization is not merely a theoretical exercise. It is an ongoing process that requires persistence and collaboration. Whether it is revisiting, revising curricula, amplifying indigenous voices, or challenging entrenched paradigms, each of us carries the responsibility of sustaining the momentum we have built there. We have learned from the voices of Dalit writers, tribal storytellers, and forgotten histories. We have explored the beauty of India's regional literatures and cultural expressions, while critically interrogating the Eurocentric frameworks that have shaped our academic spaces for far too long. As we move forward, let me commit ourselves to action. Let this conference not to the end, but the beginning of a sustained dialogue. I encourage you all to continue collaborating, publishing, and teaching in ways that reflect the principles we have discussed. To our students who will inherit this intellectual legacy, let us ensure that we leave behind a more inclusive and equitable academic environment. It is through them that the seeds of decolonization will truly flourish. In conclusion, I extend my deepest gratitude to each one of you for your contributions, your presence, and your passion to this vital cause. It is your commitment that has made this conference a meaningful and transformative experience. Let us leave here today not just with new knowledge, but with a renewed sense of purpose to decolonize narratives and interpretations in every sphere we touch. Thank you once again, and I wish you all safe travels back and continued success in your endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We now move forward on the much-awaited valedictory address. It's an honor to have Professor Sanjit Mishra with us today. Dr. Sanjit Mishra is a distinguished faculty member of the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee. With a strong academic background, he specializes in literary studies, particularly focusing on Indian English literature, post-colonial literature, and contemporary literary theory. His research contributes span various interdisciplinary areas, enriching the discourse on literature and cultural studies. Dr. Mishra actively engages in teaching and mentoring students, fostering critical thinking and analytical skills. Professor Mishra will be sharing his closing thoughts on the conference. Sir, we're eager to hear you.
Thank you.
मंच पे विराजमान प्रोफेसर गीता जी, डॉक्टर अरुण जी, डॉक्टर अनिति जी, सामने प्रोफेसर गीता जी को देख रहा हूँ, ललिता जी, प्रोफेसर अरुण जी, and of course our very own Professor Dr. Deep ji, Professor Deep. So I hope you can understand me. You can understand this Bhasha Hindi. Can you?
मेरे को हिंदी थोड़ी आती है।
So I also speak थोड़ी अंग्रेजी, right? Thank you. Yes, of course, I should forget all these people. scholars are far and wide. Of course, I can see many places Dr. Priyanka's involvement many. To suggest is to create meanings to the story, as they say. So it's enough that I know people, you know me, that's all. Connects are developed not through intellect, but through hearts. I wish I had taught in English and in Hindi, the native tongue. Most of you will be speaking and will be understand Hindi. But then I wanted to ensure that our colleague Dr. Vic is also able to understand what I have to convey. So this is for you, Vic, not for you. Thank you.
I get the blame here.
We have to care for our Videshis, and that too, if it happens to be a Gora Videshi. So actually, of course, I'll be making a mix of Hindi and English because we are talking about post-coloniality. Hindi being a marker of post-coloniality, native tongues being markers of post-coloniality. So as I can see, decolonizing narratives and interpretations, literary and cultural studies in India. In this context, I just wanted to recall what Raja Rao has said long ago, sometime in 1930s. He writes, of course, you might be aware of this, but those who are not read his Kantamara, or those who are not aware of his particular quote in that particular novel. He writes, and I quote, yes. He writes, some of the words I am quoting him, we cannot write like the English. And here is the precise answer to what Dr. Vic had to say at the very first time. Remember? Why English and why not English? Why interlanguages or why just interlanguages, etc. etc. Here is the answer. He writes, we cannot write like the English. We should not. We should not. We cannot write only as Indians. The emphasis is on only. We cannot write only as Indians. We have grown to look at the large world as part of us. Our method of expression, therefore, has to be dialect, which will someday prove to be as distinctive and colorful as the Irish or American. Time alone will justify it. Later on, he goes on to say that English is going to be the intellectual make of India's mind. Of course, I personally do not feel like agreeing or subscribing to this particular idea. Our identities are not just about intellect, not just about reason, not just about mind. In fact, the role of heart, the role of instincts goes still deeper, still deeper. We can, what happens, and why has it happened, that we started putting so much of premium upon it, forgetting the precious, rather more precious role of our instincts. Sometimes, something like D.H. Lawrence, or even earlier, Sigmund Freud, the psychologist, he had to say, heart, these binaries of intellect and heart, feelings, instinct, intellect and instinct. So, actually, what happens, Dr. Vic? There is a problem with the Western epistemology and the Western mind. They love to look at the things in terms of binaries. Either it has got to be black or it has got to be white. Nothing in between. Whereas the beauty of countries, cultures of India is that we do not confine our thought on ourselves to looking at the things from the perspective of binaries alone. There are many things in between. Science, engineering, modern engineering has actually come to realize this importance, the importance of this particular thought. And our friends in mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, for example, our friends in chemical engineering, they got this idea that there are many things beyond these binaries, beyond these black and white binaries, and that's how they came up with, they realized the vividness of multiplicity of colors. And that's how they dismantled this boundary, they dismissed the idea of binaries, and they came up with new form, new shapes, including the shape that you find here. Off-point, first they came up with the idea of off-point. Later on they came up with still other shades, shades and shades after shades. Something which language could not accommodate. Language, that to English language, there lies the limitation of English as a language. I'm not sure about other European languages, including your Irish. Well, I'm sure about this, but I think European languages, different languages in Europe, might be having this idea of multiplicity. Unfortunately, English failed to realize the importance of these different shades, the possibility of different shades. To them, human identity was just confined to, a human being was confined to be just flesh and blood, and max and mind. Later on, the idea of mind comes in 19th century. And that too, after someone like Freud, again a Jew, he was not in the mainstream, again someone belonging to the marginal section of Europe. He came with the idea of marginality. He came up with the idea of importance of looking at the things from different perspectives. Something which another Jew, the one who wrote just speak Zarathustra, Nietzsche. So look here, there is a direct connect between what Indians have been thinking and have already thought, and what the people in Europe, particularly those on the margins, they have been thinking. People in South America, they have been thinking. People in Africa, yes, it's only now that the so-called black people of Africa, they have realized their Renaissance, the possibilities of Renaissance. And something which the Europeans, most of the Christians of Europe, they realized the importance of multiplicity of thoughts. They got rid of rigidity with which they had shackled their minds sometime during the Renaissance. They realized the importance of pre-Christian ideas, pre-Christian thought, and there was the revival. And as you know, after Renaissance, as they say, the rest is history. Europe was really in darkness all through 1,000 years. Ever since the rise of monolithic religions, especially Christianity. I'm sorry to say, I'm not saying anything against Christianity or anything against Hinduism or anything against any of the sects or. I just want to point out as a scholar, and hope you'll allow me this much of liberty. This comes from my heart. Well, I am not writing down the books, but that's how I could look at things. They realized that we cannot afford to confine ourselves to be Christians alone. According to Christianity, or according to these modern religions, the idea about that the world is flat. Have they continue with this idea that the world is flat, that they would not have discovered countries like Australia, countries like the route to India. Of course, it's again discovered that they discovered India. No one discovered India. People are pretty much there. But that's how we have taught. Lessons in coloniality. That's how coloniality has been reinforced on our minds. अभी पूछूंगा और आप तुरंत बताओगे यूपीएससी की क्वेश्चंस में कोई आंसर देयर विल बी क्वेश्चन अगर आपने ये लिखा कि भारत की खोज कोलंबस ने कर दी, आपको मार्क्स नहीं मिलेंगे। अगर आपने लिखा भारत की खोज, who discovered India? You have to write Vasco da Gama. The point is, ये active, passive, who is looked after, who is sought, who is identified, and who is the identifier. So this relationship of being active, master active, and the passive slave, as though we were meant to be discovered, we're like somewhere dormant, without a culture of the room, something which they did with South America. The entire North America, the entire continent was completely exterminated of their aborigines. And I'm very happy that Australians, they realized this. And some 15 years, 10, 15 years ago, their Prime Minister, he was gracious enough to realize the mistakes committed by, the faults committed by their predecessors, by their ancestors, and they felt sorry for this. Complete extinction. So this binalism has its own haters, either this or that, nothing, no possibility of in-betweenness. Their idea of decolonizing narratives is all about looking for the possibilities of multiple shades of meaning, multiple shades of narration, multiple shades of interpretation. There cannot be just one interpretation. And see how it is reinforced, how pedagogically, doctorate in our country, in our school, back then, when I was a kid, I was given a task. What is the meaning of this particular word? Or what is the meaning of this word? And if you could not answer the question directly, you are put to shame. Nahi aati hai. Come on. Nahi aati hai, meaning nahi aati hai. I don't know. So this, I don't know this. I don't know. This has infiltrated, percolated into our system, into our psyche. Something which I realize as I go abroad and talk to the people, to your people, and the people like you, there in Europe, in Australia, in America, and the kind of confidence which an average white European exudes, that's very marvelous, because they have not been trained the way we have been trained in our schools. So, look at the way they shake your hands. Today, Dr. Lee told me that. I asked him, do you train your students, your kids, how to talk properly, how to communicate properly, how to communicate ideas properly, with the help of the right amount of body language, the right amount of gestures, the right amount of facial expressions, etc.? He said, yes, we do. We do. Generally, we don't know good, but there are many people like him, those, and of course, I'm sure this happens in America and in different countries. Look at the prime minister, look at the presidents. They are very good speakers. Of course, I don't want to comment upon some of the prime minister, on the positions which we have had. Now, of course, we have got a very good prime minister who can show much. In fact, who can excel upon many others. There are many others in my state. Of course, not with black mask, of course. So then, how will it happen? Let's analyze the personality of the Prime Minister. The decolonized self is at the heart of what he is doing. He realized the importance of being Modi. He realized the importance of being an Indian. He realized the importance of speaking in Hindi. He realized the importance of being a self-motivated man with his roots in antiquity, not in modernity. And look how forward-looking he is. Something which, and of course, there is a connect between his name Narendra and the Narendra of previous century. Look at the connect. Both are antiquaries, both look at antiquity as something to draw upon, to take inspiration from, but at the same time, they are prepared to make a future, to lead people in future. How did it happen? It happened because they realized both Narendra of the 19th century and the Narendra of the 21st century. Because they realized the importance of decolonizing narratives. they realized that unless we decolonize our narratives, unless we learn how to interpret a poem will be mine. Poem might be written by a poet, but its interpretation. My right over this, how do I interpret it? We should have talked to all our Narendras in this country. Fortunately, Narendra Modi or these people, these visionaries, they were not educated in these schools. The kind of schools that we are made to be educated in. Where asking a question is a sin. You cannot ask a question. Something which Galileo had done in sometime in 16th century, way back in 16th century in Italy. What was his thought? He has simply asked that the world, he has simply offered this lesson about the world, about that there is a solar system, that the solar system exists, and the earth moves around the sun, which was against the binaries. He was bad, he was termed bad. So there were just two ways. Either you accept the paper orders or you are perish, you have to perish. Publish or perish, as they say in IITs, publish or perish. Come on, why do you have to publish and why do you have to perish? So either you subscribe to these ideas or you perish or you are executed. Something which he was something, and again I tell you, there is the difference between the mind of India and the mind which has been governing Europe. We did not, rather we celebrated Aryabhatta and Bhaskar instead of killing them, instead of executing them, instead of banishing them, instead of marginalizing them. In India, the greatest of the epics, Ramayana, could be written by someone on the margins. He doesn't have to be educated in one of the schools, one of the colleges, one of the universities. And he rose up to become the most archetypal of poets, the writer of Ramayana. I'm talking about Valmiki. Today he is icon of the people on the margins. So it's all about interpretations. It's all about how much we are able to possess our right, wrest, W-R-E-S-T, wrest power from the people, those who have been able to control the idea of interpretation, control the text. So this confinement, this fixation, unnecessary fixation with logos, with text, unnecessary fixation. And look at this. I have a question. Why do we always say, and why do we have to say, why do we give so much of premium to put premium on books by bibliography? Why at all? And why has not a book be like this only and not that? Why should I not treat the whole text, the whole world as a text? Something which our ancestors back then carried on with. Shruti and Smriti, yes. And we have these names to celebrate. Shruti, Smriti, and they didn't write. They didn't like, oh, well, they might have written, but I'm not sure. I know them more because they carried on the tradition of Smriti and Shruti. There are so many words which cannot be described. For example, so they cannot be interpreted. Something which this writer of this particular text, Raja, had to say. We have to convey in a language, we have to convey things of our language in a language which is not my own. In a language which is not my own. Things are my own, but the language is not mine. So I have to ensure that I am able to convey my point across doctorally right here, and at the same time I am able to convey my thoughts with equanimity, with equidistance, to my counterpart, to my Hindi counterparts, not Indian. Weight is also Indian. To my Hindi counterparts, or those who prefer to understand things in Hindi or in the languages. So my point, how much time do I have now? 5 minutes for me. Okay, thank you, sir. Why I brought these books in front of me, despite the fact that I said something about being against logocentrism, against textocentrism. Of course, I want to share all those things, but presently I just wanted to share a couple of things how indoctrination had taken place, not here in India, there in Africa, there in Kenya. And here is Bangladesh Bathai, the author of the Unbound, one woman's story. And she is a Christian, she was a Christian, she is known, and she was a Nobel laureate, and of course, fortunately, she was not a professor of English. So what he says, I think it carries an instinctive response to the things instead of rehearse his response coming after the books that she might have read. No, none of that. The biggest thing, the best thing about these people, these activists, is that they do not rely much upon texts. They do not, even for their interpretation, they don't have to fall back upon someone else's book, someone else's theory. They come up with their own theories. Something they have perceived on their own. Something they realized on their own. So she says, see, Kenya is a land which was known back in those days, before they appeared the British and the invaders in that country. It was known as Keringia. And you know Keringia, the land of what? The land of light. Rays, Keringia. Something which we have in Sanskrit. Kiran. Kiran is a name, it's a very popular name in India. Now, Pramana. It's not popular, but I'm not sure, I'm not good in grammar. So is it common noun or proper noun? A name, what is the name? Well, what is the name? All of those additives like proper. So, like, Bacon writes in one of his essays of truth. What is truth? Asked just in Pilate and could not wait for an answer. Could not wait for an answer because they knew the insignificance of interpretation. Multiple ways of interpretation. So she writes how she was stopped from speaking her native tongue. How she was prohibited from looking at it, Mount Kenya as the abode of the local deities, as the abode of her God. Not that one monolithic God, their gods. Something which we have, something which is akin to our relationship with Mount Kailash or the Himalayas or all these parvats. All these parvats are abodes of our deities. They are not just resources. So she writes, we were made to view, she writes that when these missionaries came, they said, your God does not stay here, does not live here. It is far away on the seven clouds, far above the seven clouds. So, what you are doing is superstition. Waste of time. Your God is there. And there is just one God. There cannot be gods. Similarly, there cannot be just one English. It's time for us to have Englishes. It's time for us to have history instead of just one history. It's time for historiography. In fact, historiographies in the plural language. The spirit of. So I'm very happy that Professor Deepa and Professor Gala and Professor Arun, they have carried on with this spirit of postmodernity and they have come up with a beautiful conference on decolonising narratives and traditions, literary and cultural studies in India. I hope, I'm sure people in the days to come will be learning more about prosperity, and they will be imbibing the spirit of. It's not just about hearing a lecture or two in one of the conferences and then forgetting things, because this is the way forward. Otherwise, English departments could die out. That will be definitely if we continue to carry on with the same English departments. We have to change. Maybe in other cases, they have come up with such departments of such respect and were taught. There's nothing English about. And by the way, what is English about? There's not much English about the kind of conversation which we are doing. To say an extent, a language. Maybe in the days to come, we'll be farewell to the idea of this language as well. So I just wanted to share something of the intimate enemy, but then Arun doesn't want me to continue with this. Thank you so much. Just in case you have got a couple of questions, can I take a couple of questions if they have? I'll wait for clapping. Wait. I'm more than clapping, I'm glad to have some questions if all you have. Are you not interested in how to go ahead with this spirit? How to bring about the changes in this? Then I'm sure you have a question. Do you have? Do you have a question? All right. Well, on behalf of you, let me ask the question of myself. The question is, well, is this said and done? Where do we find ourselves 5 years hence, and how to imbibe, how to do the things? What is the way forward for me as a teacher or as a Christian? Yes, be strong. You must be able to speak good English. You must be able to write good English, but not at the cost of your intellectual mother tongue. We must have respect for हमारी मातृभाषा. अगर कभी डॉक्टरी नहीं होते तो मैं पूरा संवाद हिंदी में करना पसंद करता हूँ. ये मुझे बहुत शर्म की बात लगती है जब माएँ अपने बच्चों को ये सिखाती हैं. Just what? Say word. अच्छा कहते हैं पानी दो मुझे. No. जब तक बच्चा वाटर नहीं बोलेगा उसको पानी लेके दिया जाता है. I'm happy that the water comes from the word vai of Sanskrit, vana. So the child knows this, and he says finally, he enters finally, unwittingly, give me war with an American twist, an American accent. Give me war. So actually, he is looking forward to prosperity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. As a token of our appreciation, we now present a memento to our esteemed guest, Professor Sanjit Mishra, for his valuable presence and contribution. I invite Dr. Arun Singh, Organizing Secretary, to kindly felicitate Professor Sanjit Mishra with a gesture of gratitude. Thank you, sir. With this, we'll continue. Now, before we conclude, we have something very special planned. A film screening as a tribute to the idea and discussions we have explored over these 2 days. We hope you enjoy this. We'll settle everything. Give us just 2 minutes and then we'll begin with the film.
This is also different because American कि जिन्होंने पूरी दुनिया में कम्युनिस्ट आइडियोलॉजी फैलाने के लिए जो भयावह तरीके ईजाद किए थे, जिसमें वो सभी राज दुनिया के सामने खोले। उस प्रोसेस का नाम था आइडियोलॉजिकल सबवर्शन। सबवर्शन की बात दुनिया के सामने भले ही 1970 में आई, पर उन टेक्निक्स का इस्तेमाल विश्व के कई साम्राज्य हजारों सालों से करते आए हैं। ब्रिटिश साम्राज्य भी उनमें से एक था। इस्लामी लुटेरों से कहीं ज्यादा शातिर ब्रिटिश ने 200 साल तक भारतीयों को ही अपना एजेंट बनाकर भारत पर शासन किया। लुटेरों की इरादे तो समझ आती है, पर ये भारतीय कौन थे जिन्होंने अंग्रेजों का साथ दिया? उन लोगों ने ऐसा क्यों किया? सोने की चिड़िया कहलाने वाले भारत में इतनी ज्ञान और वैभव की रहती, हम अचानक इतने कमजोर कैसे पड़ गए? हम दूसरों से नहीं बल्कि अपनों से हारे। जो इतिहास हम सबको बताया गया है, ये वो कहानी नहीं है। ये कहानी है भारत के सच्चे इतिहास की, भारत की आइडियोलॉजिकल सबवर्शन। स्वतंत्रता आखिरकार क्या ये सच था? 200 साल की वो कारी रात आखिरकार खत्म हो गई थी। अंग्रेज जा रहे थे बड़े बड़े जहाजों में भरकर इंग्लैंड के लिए। हमारे चेहरे तो देखने लायक थे। कल वो सुबह होगी जिसके लिए लाखों लड़े। बस कुछ दिन और, फिर सारे क्रांतिकारी राष्ट्रवादी लोगों बुलावा आएगा दिल्ली का। सब मिलकर भारत की एक नई कहानी लिखेंगे। अपना देश अब आजाद है, अब क्या फिर? पर वो बुलावा कभी नहीं आया। बंद दरवाजों के पीछे न जाने किन किन समझौतों पर साइन किए गए। फिर अचानक से शोर हुआ कि 10 हफ्तों में देश हिंदू मुसलमानों में बांट दिया जाएगा। जिस सिंधु सरस्वती की भूमि में हमारा जन्म हुआ था, कुछ ईसाइयों ने हमसे पूछी, हिंदू मुसलमान एक दूसरे को काट रहे, लाशें गिनने वाला कोई नहीं था। मगर अभी नेता क्या कर रहे थे? इन सबने गोरों को ये करने क्यों दिया? इन सबसे बहुत दूर वो इस बड़े आवाज पर शाम शब्द हुई। माउंटबेटन ने इंडिया के नाम पोस्ट किया। नेहरू जी ने हंसते हुए जाम उठाया और कहा, "To King George VI." हमें लग रहा था कि 1947 में गोली साहब चले गए। हम गलत थे। कुछ साहब ऐसे भी थे जो कभी गए ही नहीं। बात है आज से 1000 साल पहले ही भारत इस्लामिक लुटेरों से जूझ रहा था। सिंध के इस पार भी और इस्लामिक तानाशाही थी। पैसे जनता से लूटे जाते थे, पर बड़ी जोर जबरदस्ती करनी पड़ती थी। लुटेरे तो मुट्ठी भर ही आए थे, पर करोड़ों जाहिलों को कौन सा रोके? आखिर कितने सर काटे जा सकते थे? शेर शाह जैसे अफगानों ने यहीं के लोगों को लेकर शिकदारों की फौज लड़ी। हर शिकदार के नीचे सैकड़ों सैनिक। अकबर के समय में ऐसे सैनिक लगभग 44 लाख थे। इनका काम होता था गरीबों की आत्मा में सरकार का डर बनाए रखना। इन्हीं फौजों में होते थे दरोगा साहब, जिनके पैरों की आहट से ही भूखी नंगी जनता कांपने लगती थी।
हम साहिब शब्द आप देखें तो साहब किनको कहते थे? जो मोहम्मद बिन अब्दुल्ला था, जिसे पैगंबर बोला जाता है इस्लाम का, उसके साथ जो लोग थे जिन्होंने उसे जीवित अवस्था में देखा। ऐसा कहा जाता है कि वो इतने महान थे कि उन्होंने उस व्यक्ति को देखा, इसलिए वो साहब थे या सहाबा थे। ये जो शब्दावली थी वो आज भी आप देखें चलती है कि दरोगा साहब के पास चले जाओ, दरख्वास्त लेके आओ।
अब जनता के सामने 3 रास्ते हैं, या तो धर्म बदल कर समझौता करना, या जिंदगी बनना, या फिर संकट पाओ। ज्यादातर लोग जिंदगी बनकर रहते थे। गलती चाहे जो करे, सजाएं सामूहिक रूप से दी जाती थी।
साहब सुनते ही जिम्मी वाली फीलिंग आती कि हम आज भी जिम्मी है, साहब ने बुलाया तो झुक के जाना है, उनके आगे सलाम करना है।
जिम्मी बनकर हो तो बेइज्जती सही, पर कम से कम जीने को तो मिलेगा। तो वह दबकर जी लेंगे, जिजिया दे देंगे, पर जान तो बच जाएगी। सैकड़ों साल जिम्मा उठाते उठाते साहबों का डर हमारे अंदर घर कर गया। हमारी सभ्यता का आत्मविश्वास टूटता गया, जबकि बाकी दुनिया तेजी से आगे कर गई। गुलाम राज जैसे विचार अब जनमानस के बस एक बहुत पुरानी स्मृति बन गई।